Hi there, my name's Ken. Welcome along to this F2 English Conversations course for beginners. This is the top tips for lesson number 4. In spoken English, it's really important to have good habits. And one of the good habits when you're learning to speak English is to remember that English has a rhythm to it when we speak. We will generally break the sentences into small sounds, if you like. Now, the sounds will normally be separated by things like prepositions or articles. And I'm just going to explain to you a few things that are happening in lesson number 4. Now, lesson number 4, the topics that we're going to cover are to talk about comparing heights between people, to talk about things that you like and that you prefer. You can use why in questions and because in answers, and also using about and exactly and how to use these. Now, this lesson is for beginner students, so the vocabulary and the structure are going to be very basic. But if you follow the lesson, it will really help to improve your pronunciation, your smoothness, and also to speak English that little bit clearer. I'm going to show you how to speak in small sentences to get a rhythm when you speak. So the first thing we're going to look at in this lecture, the first topic, is taller than and shorter than. Because taller than and shorter than, the words, we put them together. So we don't say taller than and we don't say shorter than, we put them together so it becomes more smooth. Taller than, shorter than. So practice this when you go through the lesson. Have a listen to this. Taller than, shorter than, shorter than. Now the sentences are getting a little bit longer, so we have to break them down into smaller sounds when we speak. So for example, this example I'm going to show you. The sentence is, yes, he is. John is taller than Jane. Yes, he is. John is taller than Jane. But when we speak, we break it down and we make it a little bit smoother. So it becomes, yes, he is. There's the S sound again. Yes, he is. John's taller than Jane. Yes, he is. John's taller than Jane. Yes, he is. John, and we can put the John and taller than, we can put that together because we have an S sound with John. So we can say John's taller than Jane. Yes, he is. John's taller than Jane. So practice this. Have a listen. Yes, he is. John's taller than Jane. Yes, he is. John's taller than Jane. The next part, if you watch for this to be able to speak smoother, the sentence is, Peter and Paula are shorter than Jane. Peter and Paula are shorter than Jane. So when we're speaking, we'll break this down and we'll say Peter and Paula. Peter and Paula. Then the next part, are shorter than. Are shorter than. And then the last part is Jane. So Peter and Paula are shorter than Jane. Peter and Paula are shorter than Jane. Have a listen. Peter and Paula are shorter than Jane. Peter and Paula are shorter than Jane. And again, this next example is when we have a big sentence to break it down into smaller parts, easier to speak. The full sentences prefer we use when we want to say what we like most between two things. So prefer we use when we want to say what we like most between two things. Now this sentence is very long, so let's break it down. We can say it like this. The first part, prefer we use when we want to say what we like most between two things. And the rhythm is really important. The rhythm sounds like da 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 da. Prefer we use when we want to say what we like most between two things. So as you can see, there's maybe 4 or 5 words that we put together for each part. Prefer we use when we want to say what we like most between two things. Have a listen and practice this rhythm. Prefer we use when we want to say what we like most between two things. Another couple of examples that I'm going to show you is using why and because. With this example, the full sentence, why we use when we want to know the reason. Why we use when we want to know the reason. Now again, this is really long, so let's break it down into the rhythm that I've just shown you. So it becomes why we use when we want to know the reason. Why we use when we want to know the reason. Very, very smooth if you can get into this habit of having this rhythm. Why we use when we want to know the reason. And the next part of this is because we use when we want to give the reason. Because we use when we want to give the reason. So again, very, very smooth if you can have a listen to this. Because we use when we want to give the reason. Another couple of big long sentences. I prefer reading a book to watching TV because reading a book relaxes me. Now, this is a big, big sentence. So again, we can break it down. I prefer reading a book. Again, reading a book is words that go together. So we say them as one sound. I prefer reading a book to watching TV. So I prefer reading a book to watching TV. Because. Now it's good to stop here because we can then give a reason. So I prefer reading a book to watching TV because reading a book relaxes me. So as you can hear, and as you can hear in this, we are being very smooth when we speak, and it's really, really good practice to do. Really good to get into this good habits. I prefer reading a book to watching TV because reading a book relaxes me. There are another couple of examples in this lesson which you can practice with. This one here, about how many students are sitting. About how many students are sitting. Again, this is a long sentence, so we can break it down and we can just say about how many students. This is the noun, how many students. And then we've got the verb, are sitting. So about how many students are sitting. About how many students are sitting. So again, we can, if you have a look at the structures, we can break this down into be able to speak that little bit smoother. There are about 100 people in this picture. There are about 100 people in this picture. Easy. There are about 100 people in this picture. There are about 100 people in this picture. So this is top tips for lesson number 4. I hope you find it useful, and I hope you can use what you learn here into the full lesson number 4. So my name's Ken, thanks very much and good luck.